Thank you for joining us today. I call the October 17th meeting of the Human Rights Commission to order. Let's begin with an introduction of commission members, please, starting over with Courtney.
Courtney Cronbach, Commissioner.
Rochella Boa, Commissioner Member.
Kristen Nelson, Commission Member.
Cody Severson, outgoing chair.
And up to Saku if he wants to introduce himself from where he's at. Nancy Boyle, Commissioner.
Carolyn B. Craft, Commissioner.
Zoe Apsey, Commissioner.
The next item is to approve the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve it, please?
So,
Can I get a second?
second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Next up, is to approve the minutes of the September 19th, 2024 meeting. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes, please?
Motion to move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. So we're going to move into our fourth item, the collaborative reorganization discussion, which I think that we wanted to lean on Brenda and Michael a little bit to talk about how we're going to be doing this. I don't remember where we want to start. Thank you, Michael.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. We really appreciate your time. And before I begin, let me first offer my thanks to you as Commissioners for your service to the City of Fargo. We very much appreciate it. We really look forward to a collaborative discussion with the HRC as we talk about next steps, we talk about the future. We've appreciated the opportunity to talk to some of you individually and in a small group just about where we go from here. Please know that your administrative team here will serve as your points of contact moving forward. And what we will do is be providing the administrative support, but also talking to you about agenda creation, agenda management well into the future. And so one of the things that we would like to talk about is what that support looks like. And so really, I think that's the purpose of this agenda item today, is just to think about how we come together and we work together in the future. We certainly defer to you as the commission, your commission liaison, Commissioner Strand, also in attendance today. And so those are just our comments that we had today, but please know that the team here is ready, willing, and able to support you in the future as your points of contact. So I will leave it at that and turn it back to you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. So go off that. So as we know, the DEI department is unfortunately no longer here, and so what we were doing is, like as Michael said, Michael and Brenda Derrick of the city administration are going to take on the staff liaison kind of positions that were originally held over in those departments. And then we wanted to also with that to give a very big thank you to Ahmed Shil as the DEI coordinator for his work over the past 2 years, and Dr. Hogan, who wasn't able to be here, give a really big thank you to everything that you've done and helped us with over the last 2 years as we take on this transition. Does anybody else have thoughts or? Yeah, it's been a really it's been a ride over the past few years, trying to take in transitions and understand the flow of everything and where we want to be. And I guess with that, should we talk about? No, we can. But yeah, we just want to have a really intentional conversation about where people are going to be talking to, where resources are coming from, where our dialogue needs to happen in order to be successful and productive, and just acknowledging that the exec team and Commissioner Strand, Mike, and Brenda Derrick are going to be the kind of the brains of the operation moving forward. Anybody else have anything?
Without taking thought to know that this represents a diverse group of people. And I'm taken aback that the city decided it needed a budget trim down. for $1.2 million. If you really were serious about budget trim down, and the threshold was to cut $1.2 million, why didn't you continue the cuts? Why did you cut DEI and you stop? Because it was just a guise. It was just a pretext. Came up with the idea of, hey, we can just create something called budget cut. And so they did that. And to create a false equivalency, they decided to go into the Department of Health and cut 4.6 positions to create false equivalency. The 2020 census, as reported by the Inforum, tells us that Black people in Fargo, Black residents, those who consider themselves Black, made up 8.8% of the population. That was 2020. 4 years on, that number has risen. So if you couple that with women and veterans and the disabled community, you know that that number is close to 15-20% of the population that you decide, you know, we don't care about your voice. So now that you want to bring DEI under the administration, you got to be serious about what you mean. Because to tell certain group from the population that we don't need your voice, disabled are not represented on the city commission. Black people are not represented on the city commission. So the only place they had a voice was through DEI. And you decided, you know what, we don't care. And I hope that you will be true to what you said, because it was preposterous that I wanted $1.2 million budget cut, but I cut just about $600,000 and I stopped and I passed the budget. Even when Commissioner Strang put two different proposals on the floor, he could not get a second, because that was not their intention. If they had continued cutting, it would have directly impacted white people, so they could not continue the cut. Once they cut DEI, that was it. It was a farce. It was dishonest. And we would not stand for this, and I want Mayor Tim Mahoney to know that. I want Commissioner Kopak to know that. I want Commissioner Thunberg to know that. I want Commissioner Pepcorn to know that. And I want to use this medium to call on people of conscience in this city to hold all those commissioners who voted to cancel women, to cancel Black people, to cancel veterans, to cancel the disabled community. I want them to be held accountable at the ballot box. We need to build an inclusive city. This is not 1950. This is 2024. And we say we don't care about certain segment of our society. It's preposterous. No fairly thinking person should think that is okay. And if you think that is okay, you are part of the problem. So I hope as the city administration take over the affairs of DEI, you will find a means to give these groups that were canceled a voice. Because for me, I don't care. I've been down for so long, and I'm not afraid of being down. But I will not stand for this. I will not. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Siku. Okay. And with that, I guess, with the collaborative reorganization, we just are hopeful that in the next few months we'll have a lot of more robust conversations about how to really truly create what we're seeking here. I guess any administration updates? I don't remember what we were going for with that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. I believe that we covered the comments in our introductory remarks that we intended to share today, just that we look forward to continued dialogue and discussion with your commission. And we certainly endeavor to support you as best we can as you talk about your future and your future work program. So thank you.
Thank you. And I suppose with that, so any dialogue that happened via the website or kind of through those DEI channels, now they'll just go to kind of your phones or your email addresses then? Then so anything that went to Ahmed or Dr. Hogan previously will then go to just you, Brenda, or you, Michael, or who's actually responding to that from the community?
Yeah, we'll make sure that those get forwarded. So as that email goes away, because it won't be established anymore, we'll make sure that any communication gets forwarded on to us.
Okay.
I have a question. How will you alert the public on how they are to communicate on these issues?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Commissioner Beecraft, thank you for that question. We do need to update the city website to reflect the removal of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Department. That will occur. That will actually occur as soon as the reduction occurs. That will be tomorrow. And so what we will do is update the city website so that the web forms point in the right direction. So to Brenda's point earlier, we also retain those records, so we don't want to have any kind of lost communications in our system, and we'll make sure that that's the case, that everything transitions, but the website will be updated accordingly tomorrow.
For my understanding, and I just want to, I guess, be clear because I'm a bit confused. So you and Brenda are now, DEI will be now under you guys.
Not quite.
You guys would be the face. I guess that's my.
And if I may, as well. So, I would say that. So, to Saku's point, DEI is no longer a part of City of Fargo. Mm-hmm. So, Brenda and Michael are taking over as staff liaisons for us. So they're going to take over what Dr. Hogan and Ahmed were doing for us.
Okay.
So historically, how it's kind of been is that members of the commission will come to the executive team with ideas that you have, and we'll express those towards the staff liaisons, and then they'll help us actually develop those and implement them to the city. So theoretically, it goes commission members, exec team, staff liaison, unless y'all want to set up a different form of communication. That's historically been how it works.
Okay.
Bless you.
So then you guys saying that scrubbing the website of the DEI is just going to be, hey, if you have a complaint within the city, this is your point of contact, or so forth, so on, with the commissioner, and then you guys, the human rights, I guess that's where what is the order that's going to take place if those in a community have a complaint or feel misrepresented, to get in from talking to us, but as well as somebody within the employment industry with the city? How does that look like?
Thank you for the question. And what I would say to that is, like today, if there is a complaint that is received from the general public, that can be taken in either at the city commission level, at the city administration level, or through other channels and means, other agencies, for example. And so much like we do today, we would have web forms on that website that would allow people to submit any kind of points of feedback. We are obviously on that website, and so they know where to find us there, and we'll make sure that that is routed appropriately. But if there would be, and I'll just use the subject that you raised, a complaint, that would be investigated as it is today, and the appropriate parties would be brought to the table to investigate said complaints. So that would be an unchanged procedure. That would be the procedure today. We certainly work with our city attorney's office as well. If there are any concerns, either of a legal nature or a law enforcement nature, we would make sure to include the appropriate agencies. So thank you.
Okay. And then just a follow-up one. If said person wants to know where the process is in this said complaint, who it would be the main point of contact, I guess? Because if there's various bodies that can take this complaint, where would be the point of contact for that person to say, okay, we all get this and it's to Paul, and we know that Paul handles all of this. Like, who is this said group or person, if that makes sense?
So I think, if I can jump in, I think as we manage multiple departments, we'll be still that pinpoint person, and we'll be gathering information. Now, if there's another group that should be taking over the management of their concern or complaint, then we would hand it off. But if it's cross jurisdiction, cross departments, it will probably stay under Michael and mine control as we're gathering all the information.
I guess historically, if somebody were to go to either the DEI page on City of Fargo or the Human Rights Commission page on City of Fargo, like those forms would have gone to Ahmed's email box. And so now it's just going to be probably like the DEI will be removed, and then it'll just be the Human Rights Commission that exists on the City of Fargo's webpage. If somebody submits a contact us form, I assume that will go to Brenda. What phone number will be listed, do you think? Would that be your phone number? Will a phone number be listed?
Yes, I think commission phone number will be listed, so they can grab Michael or I if one of us aren't available.
Okay.
Excuse me. I think it would be really helpful if you could lay out a flow chart of how this is to work.
Exactly my point, yeah.
Yeah, so that we can see it, not just verbally, but, you know, how the communication will flow, how we will interact, how the commission will know the type of complaints that come in, so that we can be made aware of issues that may be coming before, that aren't brought by the public, complaints that come in, whether it's housing, whether it's LGBTQ, whatever it is, kind of a flow chart of, first of all, the numbers of incidences, the types of incidences, and how you would interact and help the commission address these issues.
Thank you. I think that's a point well taken. I would just note too, on that website today, there's a number of resources and links that are on that website that point people to appropriate resources, either with Housing and Urban Development, for example, or other places. Those will remain. We don't intend to take away really any other content from the Human Rights Commission. That's really our primary role here, is to support your commission and to make sure that you get the information that you need as commissioner. So all of that information, I'm looking at it right now, there's quite a bit of material up there, and we'll make sure that if there's any websites that would either be out of date or need to be revised, we'll do that for you and take care of that.
Sir,
Go ahead.
excuse me. What kinds of issues would be related to human rights in our commission? So like, what kinds of like things in the community that might be going on would we be alerted on by you guys and by whoever? Because we don't really receive any comments from the city or awareness that they even understand or know what we do as a commission body. And so what would you guys be doing different that Dr. Hogan couldn't do?
Well, thanks for the question. I think we would really want to have that ongoing dialogue with you to better understand what kind of information did you receive as commissioners that we would not be aware of at present. We're brand new to this. And so we would want to work collaboratively with you to understand what kind of information did you receive, did you not receive? Certainly if there's information that's relevant and is received in our inboxes that we think rises to the level that it should be brought to you, we would certainly do that. But I think that's a great next conversation and topic that we should have in consultation with you is what kind of information do you see or not see that would be helpful for you to do your public service in the future?
Thank you.
So sometimes issues that are dormant all of a sudden have a life, and they would come into whatever departments. How would we know?
I guess that's just to piggyback off what you just said was part of Dr. Hogan's office was to keep track records and have some type of data about that. And I guess to piggyback off your question and just kind of add a little bit towards that is how are we tracking this data? Because within the city of Fargo, when you try to look at certain data when it comes to, like, let's say the veteran community and what they have and what is their key problem and what kind of solution they're looking for, we don't have stats on that. And part of his department was to, one, solve that problem, but also collect data on that front. So we then can see the impact itself. We can now see that impact itself that we are actually doing. And because we don't get a lot of the data or even concern from the city itself directly to us, we don't have any of that information. So I guess since you guys are now, we don't have DEI, I'm not talking about that, but you guys coming in, what exactly are we, the plan in that, retaining the information, getting the proper complaints to us, and then like just being able to say, like, this is our research, this is what we did, this is how we impact the solution going forward, this was how much we was getting 6 months ago, this is how much we have solved now, this is our plan for the future. I guess, what is the plan? Because from what I'm understanding and all the questions that's being asked, it's almost like it's a let's go with it and see. It's not nothing concrete. There is no plans. And I know that you guys are working with some of the chairs and the co-chairs and some of the leaders here, but it doesn't seem as though getting rid of one and kind of implementing another was fully thought out to some of the intricate details of how the city is going to perceive this and what's the chain of order and the data that's going to be collected. If I'm like putting everything, I know I'm throwing a lot out there, but I guess those are my concerns.
So can I speak to that real quick? So we had a meeting with the executive team and then Brenda and Michael last week and Commissioner Strand. So this is very much going to be a partnership. And this partnership, like you just alluded to, needs to start from somewhere. And I think we are at that starting point right now. I do believe that we, and you two can jump into, but had some really, really good and positive ideas for this commission and this partnership, and how to better intentionally utilize all of the strengths and all of the data and all of the reporting and everything that we can collaboratively bring together and make our commission much more, I don't want to say useful, but that's the only word that's coming to my mind right now, to have some great outputs for the next year. So it's going to take some intentional work, and I think we've laid the groundwork for that. If you guys want to add anything, you sure can. But
Excuse me. I guess I do have something to add or a question. When did you guys meet as the executive team?
last Thursday, Friday.
When was
Last
the
Thursday.
okay? I mean, I guess we never received any input from the executive team, or unless you guys did, like, on what was discussed, or we haven't met in over a month, so I thought maybe that might be
So
beneficial to start with, getting information that you guys meet about to the general members as well.
That's something we would be doing moving forward with a working session as well.
Okay.
In last week's meeting, and by no means is the executive committee trying to hold this knowledge or, conversations or topical pieces and not share.
No, it's-
That meeting started out with, since DEI no longer exists within the city, who do we talk to? Who do we report to? So it was very basic pieces at the beginning. Once we crossed some T's, dotted some I's, then it went on to what are things that we've seen work well, not work well? What are areas of improvement so we can make an impact? Yes, there's some wins with the group, but we've also all talked to wins are wonderful. That's what we're here for.
Yes, ma'am.
But we've also been held back from moving forward. So how can that change? And so there was multiple conversations, input, where there wasn't one singular piece decided that day. As you can imagine, for the fact of it was airing grievances, frustration, as much as, once again, how do we work collaboratively moving forward instead of us coming to a working session and this meeting and then not knowing what we're doing next. So it's still in the infancy stages per se. Michael's doing some things as far as reaching out to an entity that we thought would be possibly a great partner to walk us through how things have been done previously in communities. There's some talk as well within the Midwest region, tapping into other communities that are trying to make a greater impact. What can we do in modeling approaches that work in similar communities? And none of this is set in stone. By this date and this time, we'll have changed things. As we all know, that systemic change takes hours, it takes years. It's those wins that we see here, to me, they're not as much wins as that's that first step in planting that seed for future change. And that's just the vocabulary I'm using. So, I mean, if anybody wants details of things, we are looking at setting up a working session, everything else where we can really unpack those things moving forward. So that initial meeting was kind of literally starting, not too much of an agenda, where do we go, and ended saying, okay, we were able to discuss things that we hadn't previously and maybe not get the answers that we needed at the time, but at least get the ball rolling for the future, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And in addition to what Nancy is saying, after the elimination of the Department of DEI, we've not had any other meeting. And so we needed to meet with the administration that's now going to be taking over the HRC. And so there were nothing definitive that we went there with. But we can assure you that the executive is not trying to undercut the entire HRC. Definitely going forward, working sessions will precede the executive meeting, so that after the working session, when we go into the executive meeting, we go in with your concerns, we go in with everything that we discussed there. So
Okay.
this was just our first Quintus interactive meeting.
Yeah. And I definitely appreciate you guys clearing it up, because I felt like a lot of the things or questions I had, I guess if a general email would have been presented, like, hey, we met with blah, 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 and we'll catch you guys up. But right now, this is where we are. I think a redundant question back and forth, knowing that you guys probably touch bases on it, would have been canceled. But I still would want to get my point across either
Sure.
way. But yeah, so
Your concern is not unfounded, and that's why we decided to have the media have, the administration here with us, so that they could brief the entire HRC team, on what we discussed and what's the way forward. So yeah, but we understand that going forward, we'll make sure we do that, and that working session should precede the executive meeting, so that way everybody knows what's going on. To your question, your previous question, I think when you say the community has issues, they have problems, who do they complain to, and all of that, I thought I'm trying to rephrase that question. I thought the best place to start from, according to the Newsberg research that was published July, I think 15, 2024. It's by racial distribution of the residents of Fargo. This Newsberg research reports that 81.47% are white, 8.49% are Black or African American, 1.15% are American Indians, and Alaska Native, 4.04% are Asian, 0.80% are some other race, and 4.05% are multilateral. The question that I would have asked is concerning those kind of problems is looking at the city of Fargo and looking at the city's hiring process, because that's where I would want to start with as the new HRC, incoming HRC chair. Looking at the city of Fargo and looking at the city of Fargo's hiring process, we would need some data. What is the employment history? What is the racial percentage in the city of Fargo's workforce? We want to know how many minority groups, people of color, even applies for a job with the city of Fargo, and how are interviews and hiring conducted, because we don't see even the city of Fargo workforce. That's why DEI was important, so that everybody has a fair shot. Every time I come to City Hall, I don't see Black people work here. It's about design. How do we choose to address that? Who does the society, community report to, go to for this kind of questioning? So these are some of the issues that have been raised, because those are the things that DEI is supposed to take care of, to make sure that the city of Fargo is also an equal opportunity employer. Why don't we see a mix of demographic in the city of Fargo workforce? Is there any statistics on that? Is there any data on that? Is there any fact sheet that we can refer to that maybe we can go back to DEI, because all around the country, DEI means we're not qualified. DEI is not affirmative action. I even listen to people on news that, oh, if I'm flying a plane and I saw a Black pilot, I would be afraid. It's so nonsensical, because nobody just sits in the cockpit. Everybody sitting in the cockpit, they got equal training. You get your private pilot license, you do your CFI, you do your instrument rating, you do everything, and then you have to go and get 500 to 800 hours before you can even go earn your wings. So for somebody to say, oh, if a Black person or if a woman is flying the plane, oh, I got reason to be afraid. It just shows how ignorant people are. They don't know about these things. So why don't we see the demographic reflection in the workforce of the city of Fargo? We would need some fact sheets. So who do we contact for those kind of information?
It would be useful to have a breakdown of.
Ironically enough, I've been doing my own study
Yeah.
on it, and it's something that I can present to the board first, then presenting it to the city. So it could definitely be something that we table right now.
Okay.
Our next meeting, I can present that information to you guys.
That would be good.
If I may add to what Siku is saying, I think a big challenge that we are facing as even a younger generation, it's not enough to direct us towards job services where, you know, we're not going to be utilized for our skill sets and what we had gotten at education here in this state and city, as well as, you know, education from different aspects along our journey. It's not enough to direct us to job services and tell us to go work as a temp worker and still not know if we're going to be secure or set in what we had put in our hard dollars or our income and loans into an education, our time and our energy, and, you know, be stuck in this position where there is no gain or there is no promotion or level ups. I think we want to be put into positions where we are being told our education is enough and where we are being utilized to our best ability, because we're living in a changing times. I don't know if you see it, but they have robots now that can serve your friends, drive your vehicles. It's called Optima. You know, that's just one case of all the new changing technologies in our society. And, you know, to be put back into areas where we're not even being exposed to this technology that we know is available. it does take a toll on us as people and this new workforce that's coming in to make change. So, I mean, that's what I wanted to add to what you were trying to say about the city workforce, but
Thank you.
You had a question.
Yeah, I just had one question or comment, and I might be a little out of the loop because I don't know what was all discussed in that meeting with the leadership. But in terms of website updates and intake forms, I just think if there's any way that we could partner in what that looks like, because submitting an intake form for a sidewalk that's in disarray is much different than submitting an intake form for a very delicate and sometimes confidential issue. And so I think that if people knew that there was a person behind just this form and it doesn't just float out there and get talked about amongst multiple different departments before someone connects with them, I think that that could go a really long ways.
If I can have one last input, just to go off on the communication piece. With the emails that I had was part of a form that community fills and sends it to DEI, and I had access to that. So what I'm hearing is, how does the community communicate to you? How do they have directions to reach out to you as they did to DEI? I would recommend, I don't know if I can use that word, but to rebrand that DEI folder email inbox to HRC, where it could have an actual form that community can fill out and have it, because when I had it, and if I saw a means for HRC to be involved in any questions that came in, whether it was housing issues, which we took on a lot, I pulled in the chair and the commission liaison, and we went and talked about it. So I would recommend that DEI folder inbox to be rebranded to HRC, and have that form that individuals can fill out to, and then navigate from there and filter out what HRC should be involved and what other general communication or general questions the community would have.
Maybe this is something for a working session, but as a community member, I don't think I would know where to go to file a complaint, or just to share a grievance. And so I know there's been budget cuts, but even if there was a mailer sent to everybody about, this is who we are, here's a QR code to the form, or a link, or just something to educate the public about that there is this form and we are here for the people, would be helpful to get that out there, I think.
Mr. Chairman, might I join just for a second? You know, I'm looking at the people at the table who are sitting at the dais and who've been appointed to the Human Rights Commission. Each one of you has a skill set and it's levels of interest that are absolutely hugely important in our community. And we have reasons to be really proud of what you've all done. Look at the last couple of years, you know, and I'll remind us, the legislature's right around the corner, you know, and if it weren't for the HRC, for example, the LGBTQ plus community wouldn't have a place to have a voice, to have a conversation, you know, about things. The topics that you've addressed are just so hugely compelling. The peace movement, the request for peace, the role you play is just so substantial, and you're all there because you carry what you have as your own interests and skill sets and passions to the table. Here's what I see as just a moment of optimism, even though we're all reinventing stuff. That's life. I couldn't ask for more. It's not been fun, but I couldn't ask for more than to have your two city administrators be your points of contact. We have the people who run the city. Now, these folks, they run our city. They're your point people. And you couldn't get higher up on the ladder than that. We're not shuffling. Years ago, it used to be all under the planning department, and then we created DEI, and this is maybe where it all along could have been, but this is great, I think, to have that direct connection to the city administrator and assistant to city administrator. You couldn't ask for more. So let's embrace that in a way that we see the opportunity in this change to knowing that, yeah, you're not going to always win with trans advocacy issues. But thank goodness it exists, that the voices are there and that the support is there. We're not always going to win with peace accords and calling for peace, but my goodness, look at the role you played. And look at the role you played, for example, in the Arbors community and how that's finally getting up. We'll have a direct connect sooner than not with administration with these topics. So I encourage you, just throw fuel on your dreams and your aspirations and support each other and think hard about where we as a community are going, put your best into it. You have, and then their support is to every single department in the city. So there's good in this too. And I look forward to working with everybody in that regard. I look forward to working with Saku as a new chair. You know, you have a passion that's absolutely palpable. Good. And I want to thank Cody for what you've done in the last few years. My goodness, you've just evolved into a leader more and more and more. And you're sensitive and you engage and you involve people. You just constantly, you're not a control freak, you just lead nicely. Carolyn and some of you and Nancy, what you bring to the table. So anyway, I'll stop. But and we have, and you can go down the line. Some people who are advocates and disabled, people who are advocates for people of color, people who are advocates for LGBTQ, people who are advocates for senior citizens. We have a new person at the table that's a skill set we really were missing, Courtney. You really are going to fill a gap. There's also again. Let's make the best of it.
With that being said, I also want to acknowledge appreciation for our attorney being here. Nancy, I appreciate you taking the time out and actually being here to help us ensure that we're doing things in the right way. I appreciate that a lot.
And Michael, for the first time you meet in like all of us, I do want to say I am excited, although I'm disappointed in us getting rid of DI. I'm so excited that we do get to work alongside you. I follow your journey a couple of years, and I know how much you're so passionate about your city and making sure it is the best city to live in. So I do want to let you know that although I'm sad and you can see that one department has gone, I am really, really grateful to be working alongside you.
All right, folks, and with that, I will go into, I think we had this next category is just a placemaker for out. So as the outgoing chair, I am excited for what we're doing next, for where we're going next. I'm gonna, since I've been asked, I'm gonna still be included in some of the exec meetings coming up as well, just to provide a historical, the history on it, I guess. And then from after this, Saku will be our chair at the here, and we'll just go forward and it'll be fun. Did you have any other comments you want to make on that?
Well, thank you, Cody. I want to use this medium to thank you for your dynamic leadership. I mean, your dynamic and astute leadership in steering the affairs of the HRC these few years. You took it from one level to another, and I think there's nobody here who's not going to miss your leadership and your leadership style. And to say that as we take over as the new chair of the HRC, I want you to take me for who I am. I'm not Cody, I'm not soft-spoken and as erudite as he is and as polished as he is, but I believe we can all work together, and Nancy is a big force here on the HRC as our vice chair, and I'm very sure she's going to be keeping me in line, and we want to thank every one of us who serve on the HRC, and the city cannot pay you, the HRC cannot pay you for all the work you've put in for our city, and I want to use this time to also thank Commissioner Strine, who has been our focal person and our go-to, and also thank Michael and Brenda. I know sometimes I speak with so much passion because I love this city. Fargo is home. I'm not going any other place. I will travel the world, but Fargo is home. And I don't want Fargo to be on the news for anything negative in this country. I want Fargo to be a model city. I want Fargo to be that reference city when it comes to, inclusion, when it comes to prosperity, when it comes to, safety, and everybody achieving their dream. That is the passion that I bring. So I know sometimes I will speak with that passion, but I don't intend anything evil. There's nothing in my mind that will want to undermine anything that the city leadership is doing. I think Mayor Mahoney and his team, they've been doing a phenomenal job. And I believe in Marco and Brenda. And I think it's just a better opportunity, like Commissioner Strong said, that we have them to work with. And we thank you. We look forward to a greater working relationship so that we can advance the cause of our city where everybody can feel welcome. I want a welcome in Fargo. Fargo is home for me, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. Thank you, commissioners, for reposing your confidence in me to be your new chair. Thank you.
All right, and with that, we will go into announcements. One thing I wanted to bring up is I think in the next 3 weeks we have the Trans Day of Remembrance coming up. That's being held at MSUM, I think, this year. We had a member of the public who was a pretty outspoken advocate recently died by suicide, and I think that if we, and it's just really important that we as a community come together and pay our respects and acknowledge that. And so, do you know when that is? November 21st, I think. Yeah. Okay. It's coming up. Faye Seidler has the information on her website. Reverend Karen Van Vossen, I think, is also a point person for that. But just knowing that that's coming up in the next few weeks. Anybody else have anything to?
I do. It's more like a awareness. Winter is coming, so I do want our city to be mindful of our homeless population. Winter is not a time for you to be extra mean and do hostile, I would say, architecture in a sense. Understand that although these people do not have what you have, still be a decent human being to them, referring them to local shelters, the engagement center, being mindful that they are humans, and also pointing them out to like food pantries, as well as if they are in a location where we feel as though they shouldn't be sleeping, maybe reach out to your local homeless shelter and ask them if they have a place that you know someone who is sleeping somewhere, and they're in the cold. So let's be mindful and share that resource and be good humans.
Just two updates. I noticed we'll probably meet before it, but Pangea is November 16th over at Yumcomst. It's 10 to 4, I believe. So celebrating the cultures of Fargo-Moorhead area. And then I talked to Cody a little bit about it this morning, but I met with Kelly, who is the new service coordinator over at the Arbors, and just talked about the Arbors and Human Rights Commission. And she has a lot of great plans, and she's already doing so much work there. And she, in my personal words, like, she is on fire. And so I'm really excited about the possible collaboration that we can do as HRC. We've talked about how to be an advocate training, or working with the Human Rights Coalition and collaborating to do work that pertains to the Human Rights Commission. So just wanted to update everyone that she has there's a trunk or treat on October 31st there, 3 to 5. Police are going to be there, fire, food bank. So it's going to be a fun event.
I just had, I just had one announcement. I saw a call for Meals on Wheels drivers, especially as it's getting cooler outside. The driver volunteers tend to drop. And so even if you can pick up one route or a monthly route, I know it would be greatly appreciated. There's multiple distribution sites within the community. I'm a Meals on Wheels driver, and I've seen what happens when they don't have enough, and people will have to do double routes, or the employees will have to deliver routes, and it just results in, getting meals later off of the routine and puts a strain. So if anyone has any extra time to do that, I know it would be appreciated.
Awesome.
And I have a couple events or awareness days that are taking place. So last month I had shared that October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Today is that of the National Day of Action. So that's why I'm wearing purple. No pressure for anybody else to go home and put their purple on, but if you do, way to go. So when you just think of that, as Rachel was even saying about the unhoused, of like, let's make sure we're kind. Many times in the community, we hear of domestic violence and we hear some of the stereotypical reactions of, why hasn't somebody left? We're asking the wrong question. Why does somebody think it's okay to physically, emotionally, verbally harm somebody? So just even thinking of the context of how we look at certain issues and maybe changing that for those that might have negative views per se. And then also today is Conflict Resolution Day. It is global observation dedicated to promoting peaceful conflict resolution, fostering understanding, and encouraging collaboration. And then tomorrow is Anti-Slavery Day. And when you think of that, too much of our world and nation thinks slavery has been over. When you think of human trafficking, it has a different name now. That's it. There's still other forms as well, but understanding that this is something that we each can combat. It's making sure that we're aware. It's educating ourselves, educating our realm of influence as well. And the Anti-Slavery Day actually started through that of the United Nations. So if you want any more information on that, there's plenty out there on Google. You can also reach out to HRC. And with that, I will mute myself.
I think Kristen also wanted to say something.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So Trans Day Visibility, I looked it up. It is November 20th. So we'll have a lot of activities around that. Next week, the Fargo Youth Initiative. I am liaison for the Fargo Youth Initiative through the school board. So they have an event that takes place here on the 29th called Impact. So they are basically, it's a conference for high school kids. And they are going to be involved in government, let their government officials, like local officials, know what is on their minds. So they're going to talk about homelessness. They're going to talk about mental health. They are a very energetic group of young kids, and I'm really, really excited to pop in on that next week. So just put that on your calendar. And then November 5th is Election Day. Please go vote. If there's any indication that you are having your rights infringed upon when you're going to vote, please call Election Protection, and there's other resources out there for that.
I did promise us a website that was in development, and it's called inclusivefargond.com. I've seen it, and it's a really good website, and it should be done by the end of the month. And I'm hoping that during the November meeting, we will have the developer of that site to just come and share with us 5-10 minutes on how to use the site. It's going to be user-friendly, where you can go and sign up and register your voice. If you want an inclusive city, the website is going to capture some of those information, and I think it can help with what the city administration will be doing, where people can go and register their voices on different issues. And so, yeah, we should be done with that by the end of the month, and hopefully it should go live next month. Thank you.
Great. And so with that, if there are no other announcements, seeing none, in the interest of time, so in terms of subcommittee updates, I just wanted to put the notion out there. So right now, I think at the the meeting that we had previously, the executive committee kind of decided that we're going to cease the subcommittees for right now while they strategically kind of design them moving forward. I think that they want to have a couple of collaborative meetings to really give a workflow to subcommittee meetings and that sort of thing. So I think that the plan is that maybe the beginning of 2025, after a few months here, to really give a more robust just idea of how subcommittees kind of can work and how they can be more collaborative. So just ceasing them for the time being and working on them in the background as an executive committee for a little bit. And I suppose, just to put it out there, I would assume that we'll have an MLK Jr. Celebration meeting in the next month or so, because that's needed. All right, so in the last few minutes here, we'll go through public comment. Those who wish to address the Human Rights Commission must use the sign-in sheet. Speakers must state their name and will be limited to 2.5 minutes. Comments should not contain profanity or personal attacks. Staff, do we have anyone signed up for public comment? I don't know.
He is quickly signing up, and then we'll have him go.
Okay, so sounds good.
While we're waiting,
Yeah.
Commissioner Richel, thank you for your comments on the unhoused. A couple of things. That is one thing I've had the privilege to work with in my new role. And outreach, our engagement outreach is always the first contact. And so they are getting people connected to services. And I appreciate Commissioner Strand, because at our last commission meeting, he also brought up, which is what we needed, the discussion of winter warming. And so that conversation is just starting up again. So thank you very much for your comments.
I'm so happy to hear that. Last year was aggressive, so.
Okay. If you want to come up and speak at the podium, that'd be great. Yeah. Thank you.
Is this on? Yes, it is. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, commissioners and everyone in attendance. My name is Eric Hegg. I am a longtime resident of Fargo. I went to elementary school at Lincoln Elementary. I graduated from Fargo South High. When I graduated, I went to school at the United States Naval Academy and then served for 6 years as an officer in the Marine Corps, where my primary occupational specialty was military policing. When I left active service, I went into the technology sector, working on cloud sales with Microsoft and Microsoft partners. So I come here today with a wide variety of experiences, and my intent is to spark a dialogue and bring the attention to the commission about the Fargo Police Department's implementation of the Falcon Flock surveillance system. This is a general surveillance system which across the nation there have been many issues from a DEI standpoint of surveillance systems surveilling people in an equitable manner. And this is where I think the Human Rights Commission can play a key role in this. This was passed on September 30th, which was the contentious budget meeting, commission meeting. And it was kind of just quickly shoehorned in there and passed very quickly with no option for public input or dialogue. Nobody asked the citizens if they want the police to be surveilling their every movement downtown. This is where a lot of our political demonstrations take place. Do we want the police to have surveillance footage of every single participant in a political demonstration? There are places of worship downtown. Do we want the police, the government, or the administration to have access to the surveillance footage of every place of worship that you attend, every political demonstration that you participate in, or the video footage of you going to Sandy's Donuts with your kids on a Saturday morning? The other major concern is the access to this data. Where's the oversight? Who has access to this data? There have been reported incidences across the United States of law enforcement agencies abusing these types of license plate reader surveillance systems in order to stalk romantic interests, in order to harass ex-partners or pursue people that are not under investigation but they think they should be. So I want to ask, where have the Human Rights Commission, where have you been a part of this decision-making process? I have a lot of concerns here, and I have a lot of concerns in the manner in which this was passed, and I look forward to future dialogue about it.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else from the community would want to speak?
What does this service do downtown? Does it just kind of track people, or can people put alerts out with it?
I wish we finish with.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I guess.
So that can be an ongoing conversation that we have, yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Cody.
Yep. Cheryl, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for your time on the commission. We appreciate you. Cheryl Schafel, yeah. We always do off the book stuff here, whatever.
Is this one good? First of all, I want to say that it was an honor to serve on the Human Rights Commission. And I did it for 7 years, so I saw a lot of growth and a lot of changes and a lot of things. What I hope is that the change that's taking place now is as beneficial as it has some of the things have in the past. And I'm hoping that that the commission can work well with the people who are taking over. The one thing that I wanted to say is not only was I grateful for the opportunity, but we have so many miles to go in the city of Fargo. Just in the past week, we lost an activist, a trans activist who committed suicide, and that goes back to how they were treated by the community. This is a totally different personal thing, but I'm in the process of trying to sell my house. And I had them say that it showed beautifully, but they didn't like the neighborhood.
Oof.
I've got Black people in my neighborhood. I've got Muslims in my neighborhood. There's Native Americans in my neighborhood. Eastern Europeans. And I think that's extremely sad for our community, that someone would say, I don't want to live in a neighborhood like that. And so the reason I wanted to get up and say and talk was that the Human Rights Commission is so needed in the city of Fargo. We have so much work to do just on helping to change people's attitudes and helping them to be more accepting and more welcoming so that all of our neighborhoods are welcoming. People want to live in all of our neighborhoods. And so that we don't lose any more beautiful people just because of who they are. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. And thank you again, Ahmed, for everything you've done for City of Fargo and within the DEI department. We appreciate you. Appreciate you, Dr. Hogan, out there. With that, any other business? Hearing none, this meeting of the Human Rights Commission stands adjourned. I don't think that we can in this meeting. I think that we can moving forward. Our meeting, okay, if you, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. Your name one more time.
Eric Haig.
Eric. And Eric, we don't want to seem dismissive on the issue you just raised up. So it's very important that we acknowledge it. However, it's not something that we can discuss right here, right now. It's something that we have to come together as a body, look into so we have way more information, and then we can bring it up for a discussion. So I don't want you to feel as though you are not heard or we don't take this important. We just have to talk together as a group, and then we can reach out to you. So after this is done, we can get your information and then have that proper communication with you, okay? Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Eric. I think, like my colleague just said, we will come together and because we want to hear more. So maybe we might have to invite you into our working session. 2 minutes presentation is just not enough. So you might be, we'll reach out to you, we'll get your card so that one of our working sessions, you come there and share with us more. We ask more questions so that we can form our own opinion around that. Thank you for coming.
Brenda, do you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you all. Have a great day.